りおしまい。
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Get the Mic, the only show where your host on the left, Owl,
and your host on the right, Brock,
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. On this episode, we're talking about Dragon Ball as usual, and it's a big day because we are wrapping up a major arc of the original run of Dragon Ball. This episode we're talking about today is episode 122. It's called The Final Showdown, or in the Japanese, The Final Gamble. And it's the last episode of the Piccolo Daimyo arc, and so it's I'm pretty excited. We're going to be finishing some things off here
finally
and
tie up some of these ideas,
putting a capstone on things. Although the thing, and this is something I really like about Dragon Ball, it continues in like the next couple episodes. This even into more context. Let's say. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, if you like what you hear during the show, please give us a like. Subscribe to our channel. We upload new episodes Mondays and Thursdays to YouTube and Tuesdays and Fridays to Rumble. We also have started releasing some other content relating to the Souls community. So if you are interested in that at all, please check that out. I may put a little balloon thing or whatever they do at the top.
Whatever those YouTubers
do. So, be on the lookout for that. Without further ado, though, this is episode 122, The Final Showdown. Goku lands before Piccolo, taunting him by pointing out that his attacks are growing weaker. When Piccolo says that his situation is inconceivable, Goku points out that he does have a tail. Piccolo appears terrified as Goku limps towards him and dashes toward Tien, grabbing him and holding him up by his head. Piccolo threatens Goku with Tien's life, saying he'll crush his head if Goku moves. When Goku points out that this is unfair, Piccolo just laughs. Tien calls out to Goku, telling him not to worry and to take Piccolo out. Meanwhile, Yamcha, Bulma, and Launch arrive at the giant crater, surveying the area for somewhere to land. Yajirobe stands on the edge of the crater, deciding that he doesn't want to watch a fight like this. He speeds away only to get caught up in a crisis of conscience, knowing that Goku will still help him get food. On the ground, Yamcha tells Bulma that it's best if he goes on alone, and Bulma strongly disagrees, tying in what we were talking about last episode. Just then, Blue Launch accidentally fires a rocket straight at them, which they narrowly avoid. The rocket continues, nearly hitting Yajirobe in the distance. So let's take these things one at a time. Let's take this first part. So Goku lives through the second explosive wave, and he calls the flying Nimbus to get him out of the pit, and that's when he kind of lands before Piccolo, just to give some context there. And then he taunts him by saying his attacks are growing weaker. Now, this next part, I don't remember it as well. I think you're gonna have to fill in a gap here. That next part where Goku says he has a tail.
Yeah, so Piccolo basically says this doesn't make any sense. This is inconceivable.
Oh, okay.
It must be some kind of
that
something
his
along
situation.
The lines of,
Okay. I thought it was saying like he was saying Goku's situation was inconceivable. I'm like,
oh no, he just reacts with shock whenever
right. He's like, this
scared.
is impossible. Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Goku goes, well, he's like, you can't be human. A human could not destroy
That's
me."
right. Yes.
And Goku says, well, I do have a tail.
So maybe I'm not. And that it's something to say because people are like, oh, the whole Saiyan thing was a retcon. It's like, I don't know about that.
No, it's actually hinted at right here, the nature of Goku being superhuman.
The nature of Goku having celestial ancestry.
Or cosmic power.
Yeah. And that's really what we're getting at here. And so Goku, even though he doesn't know what it is, he understands that there is something special to him having that connection, right, with his tail. And so he tells that to Piccolo, and then Piccolo's terrified at that, right?
Piccolo as he sort of realizes the implications of Goku saying that.
Yeah.
Of course he's terrified.
Of it being a true instantiation.
Now it's likely in his mind that he will be destroyed.
Yes.
Because if there is a spirit that's been able to stand up to all of this and he doesn't know its limitations as a being, as
I like that, yeah.
how elevated in a cosmic sense they are, he's terrified.
Yeah. So
and that's why he immediately grabs Tien and tries to use Goku's humanity as a weakness for him.
Then he has to exploit, instead of fighting fairly, he has to exploit the weakness of others.
Exactly.
And take advantage of it.
And specifically exploit what ties Goku to humans, his human side, right?
Yes.
To appeal to his desire to protect others.
Right, because if he was to say, like, I don't care, kill Tien, then it wouldn't be a very heroic spirit we'd be looking at, is it?
Right.
And especially because, I mean, there are some things that are going to be revealed here in a minute. Let me see, where are we going? So, yeah. Goku points out the unfairness inherent in exploiting the humanity in himself, right? And Piccolo doesn't care because it's obviously a point of strength. If everything's power, then the rules don't matter, do they? And so,
nope. It's operant victory.
Yes,
for Piccolo.
And so now Piccolo has Goku right where he wants him. There's really nothing else he can do except Tien calls out to Goku and tells him not to worry and to kill Piccolo anyways. Now,
exactly.
This is good because while Tien knows that the dragon has been destroyed and that the previous way, the previous idea of how to conquer death can no longer be utilized to do so, he actually kind of manipulates Goku here because he knows Goku doesn't know that. And he's trying to make, again, the ultimate sacrifice, which I think that's the reason. It's a fitting reason because it's like, that's pretty much Tien here in this class. It's like, this is the ultimate sacrifice. This is someone who's willing to give the ultimate sacrifice. Right?
Exactly. And it's almost like, ultimately,
you stay out of this.
It's a noble thing for him to do, considering that Chao Tzu was sacrificed to Tien.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I can see how Tien is in this position now where the most noble thing he could do is sacrifice himself for the sake of Goku being able to destroy Piccolo.
Right. It would be worth it. It would be more meaningful for that to happen than for Tien to continue living, is basically what he's expressing with that. And so it is a noble thing to say, like, the destruction of the evil in the world, that idea is greater than the individual spirit, my individual spirit.
Now, this is great because it coincides with Yajirobe's crisis of conscience.
Yes, which is what we're going to do next. So go ahead.
So as this is happening, right, whenever Goku has this crisis of, do I push through or not, Yajirobe runs from the fight, then realizes that Goku can nourish him, and then turns around and runs away again, and then turns around and runs back towards it again. Um, and it's basically comes down to Yajirobe saying that because it's funny the way that he says it. He says that as long as Goku's around, he'll be able to help him get food,
Yes.
and then he believes by that measurement believes that Goku can defeat Piccolo, which
Yeah.
is so strange that that's how he rationalizes it for himself. But it's about nourishment, like we've been saying, right? And so
Well, doesn't he start running? Does he? Does he eventually turn around? I thought what got him to turn around in the end doesn't it have something to do with the rocket. Maybe I'm not remembering
he
right.
just barely dodges the rocket.
He's crazy to try to stand up to Piccolo.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
And that's how this started before, right? And that's what he was saying to him down in the cave. Yep.
I'm just trying to remember how. Is that how it ends?
So it's basically is what how it ends.
The crisis of conscious.
Yeah, well, it ends basically because we see Yajirobe just dodge the missile, but the missile doesn't make him turn around.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, the point being that as Goku is having to make this decision, which I think is tied into whether or not something is self-serving or not, right? Because it's actually
More self-serving for Yajirobe to leave.
right, and also for Goku, the self-serving thing to do would be to spare Tien.
Yeah.
And so we have this sort of inversion happening here, and it's almost like Yajirobe's drawn to go learn the right context for him being so self-serving.
To spare Tien. Wait, say that part again?
So Goku has to make a choice for the fewer the many right here, right? This is that conundrum where if he powers through Tien and kills Piccolo, then it'll be the sacrifice, a willing sacrifice to save everyone.
Yeah.
Or will he selfishly keep Tien alive?
No, I wanted you to rephrase that last part because but go ahead.
Or will he selfishly choose as an agent that this person is by themselves is valuable enough to keep alive, right? And so that's a certain kind of crisis that I don't think Yajirobe would know how to work out with his low resolution self-serving nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so as he's being pulled towards getting food or sustenance, he is compelled to go here and go to Goku. It's not like he thinks he's going to defeat Piccolo or anything like that. He just wants to go to Goku.
Right, he's being drawn towards him, and it's because of that spiritual nourishment that he's seeking that we've been pretty much repeating about Yajirobe the whole time, right?
Whenever he first fell into the cave, whenever he fell down into his fight that he was having with the ghost of Roshi.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This keeps happening with Yajirobe. So I wanted to point out that thematically, this is how he's being pulled back towards Goku again.
Oh, definitely. I just didn't understand what you were saying that one time. There was only one sentence that I wanted you to repeat, but then you reiterated it in different ways, so that's fine. So we see that, and then we see the three Go Crew members down there that are like trying to sneak up on Piccolo, and Yamcha tries to tell Bulma that he's gonna go alone.
Right.
He's gonna go help Goku alone. And Bulma says no, like hell no to that, right?
Bulma said, what she's really saying is, I've been with Goku for longer than you.
Yeah, and and this is to say too that the fact that Goku's here now instead of it just being Tien has moralized Bulma so much that not only is she willing to go this far, right? She's not saying, okay, Yamcha, go on now, I'll wait for you here, whatever. But she's willing to go even further, right? To go make contact almost, I want to say, with the heroic spirit.
But it's funny because her expression of being moralized towards the heroic spirit launches a missile towards two instantiations of immature masculine spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it powers straight through both of them, and it comes from Blue Launch nearby, with mishandling her own rocket launcher.
Right, and it's almost to say like Mother Nature's trying to tell you to chill out, don't
get out of the way.
Yeah. Get out of the way. I
so
like
that
that
I
even
can
better.
Support the hero, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, don't get in my way.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think we're on the same page too. So the rocket continues, like we said, and it almost hits Yajirobe. So we spent 12 minutes on this first section. Let's go ahead and go on.
It's a big episode.
I know. It is definitely being the kind of season finale, if you will. So back in the fight, Piccolo reaches down and picks up a rock, balancing it on his palm. He then blows launching it towards Goku's arm, rendering the limb useless. He tells Goku that his weakness lies in his compassion, and Goku apologizes to Tien, knowing he has to defeat Piccolo. This surprises Piccolo, but Goku explains that he'll just wish Tien back with the Dragon Balls. Piccolo laughs, telling him that he already dealt with Shenron. He then picks up a second rock and launches it towards Goku's good leg, crippling it and sending Goku sprawling into the dirt. Piccolo then tosses Tien aside, having no more need for him, and launches himself upward, proclaiming his victory over Goku. He tells Goku he was a fool for opposing the King of Darkness, and plunges toward him. Goku responds by telling Piccolo that he made a mistake in sparing one arm, raising a glowing fist into the air. So let's start at the beginning. This section is pretty dense.
Yeah.
So the whole rock thing and the whole Piccolo using his breath,
Yes.
right, is important. He's using his breath to launch this, we'll just say rock, at Goku, and he's systematically taking out the structure that integrates Goku's physical instantiation.
Yeah, he's breaking him apart, or he's dissociating him with his breath, right?
Yeah.
Which is, we see this a lot, where he's using his spirit, or his ability to instantiate his spirit specifically to deconstruct Goku. And so that by outwitting Goku and putting him into a situation that he can't resolve,
Yeah.
especially
the
after
biggest
telling
crisis.
him now that Goku can't sacrifice Tien and ever get him back, that it would be a higher order death. The idea of Tien would be killed in this fight if Goku were to go that way. That puts Goku in a lock, because Tien has mastered certain levels of spirituality that Goku hasn't, right? And so this represents something that can't be destroyed in the world. I mean, destroyed as an idea in the world. So Goku can't really move because he's now fighting on a higher level than human, right? And that's kind of the reason for the stakes being the way that they are right now. Now Goku doesn't realize that by winning this fight, he will be able to fix that situation.
Yeah, of course. It can't be realized.
But as it is a crisis for him, it's a wedge.
It can't be
right?
like a pre-Hawk thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And so, but what I think that is that Piccolo's ability to conceive of a situation that would stop Goku from being able to see what the heroic path forward would be is the way that he cripples him physically.
I mean, Piccolo, being, like we've said, a fallen angel, right, knows the heroic path, and he knows the biggest crisis with the heroic spirit, and it is exactly what you said. Is it the one or the many?
Yeah.
Right? It's that exact paradox, not paradox. What do I want to say? Like the unsolvable puzzle, the Gordian knot that is, right?
Right. And the reason for it is that the hero shouldn't be considering himself to be a judge on that level, right? It's a step too far to consider yourself in line with a god, because the hero has to be subordinated to a higher sort of pattern of judgment, but not be the judge themselves generally. And so this is something that Goku can't do, at least not yet. Step into that space, because it's like it wouldn't with his wisdom, it wouldn't be the heroic thing to do, right? And so Piccolo is kind of, that's what that crisis is.
Well, this is
right?
really
Is
the ends don't justify the means, right? This is where it's the destruction of evil can't come at the cost of innocent lives.
Exactly, right. And the hero can't judge an innocent person to be a valuable enough sacrifice for.
Sure, yeah. Only,
right?
let's say they can do that, and even though Tien has already decided that, Goku still can't like act on it. He can't make that thing happen.
Right.
He can't will it into being. Only Tien can, and he's already kind of given up, or he's already kind of expended his energy on that path, right? We've already been through that road. And so I wanted to real quick go back to the breath, because as we've seen in some instances already, the mouth beam is like that the guttural representation of a spirit. And so here it's not necessarily a beam, but Piccolo's using it in a more elegant way, the way that let's say pattern of being, his breath, right? He's using that, and he's um, let's say by using his pattern of being, he's showing the weakness of Goku's spirit. And this is one of the weaknesses of the heroic spirit. Like, that's plain to see. This is the biggest crisis. We see this in multiple iterations of mythological stories for that reason, right? The evil or adversarial spirit using innocence as a weapon, right? That's something that cannot really be combated by the hero.
Right. And I'm trying to place exactly how him using rocks instead of actually using an extension of himself matters, right? Because
Well,
it's not the
it's
same as
not
him
just
using a
rocks.
mouth
This is
beam.
rubble.
Yeah.
This is rot from the destruction that Piccolo, and that's why I paused earlier when I was like, we'll just call it a rock, but I guess it shouldn't even be a rock. It should be rubble, because this is the fruit of Piccolo's evil on the world, right? That he's launching at Goku. He's saying, this is what my spirit can instantiate in the world, right? And this is what I'm holding against you. That's
Right.
my interpretation anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a bit closer to it. It's interesting because that's what he's throwing the the nature of the world he's created at Goku.
Yes, that's why I was saying
And
it's
he's
rubble.
saying
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no he's trying to I think symbolically convince Goku that there's no room for a hero here in what he's made the world into. And so he's throwing the world, like the earth, the rubble under
And
their
that
feet at him.
evil can always put you in this crisis.
Hmm.
And so Goku, thinking that he has that ability still to conquer death, because he's already done it once. We've already seen it happen. He just says he'll use that power again, and the only thing is, he doesn't know that Piccolo's already destroyed Shenron. He's already undone the fabric of order by which the hero can then conduct the ritual of defeating death.
Right.
And so that's what you were saying a second ago. That's when Goku's really pinned into the biggest crisis, because now it's Tien instantiated as a spirit forever that will be killed.
Yes, because there's no reinstantiating his pattern back into the world.
Not without the order being repaired. And we'll get to that.
Yes. So this kind of stops Goku down because he can't he's he's a brand new spiritual being. Like his ability to fight on this level was just learned.
Yes.
He doesn't really know
He still needs experience, yeah.
how to navigate dealing with ideas instead of actual physical instantiations because I'm trying to say it very precisely. He's fighting on the level of the realm of ideas. He's fighting on the
Mm-hmm.
level of an idea or a higher order spirit than a singular personage, right?
Yeah, and that's why he can't be seen by people whenever like Piccolo and him are going real fast or whatever, right? I did want to mention too, Piccolo says here that he had his own reasons for killing the dragon. What reasons might those be, Brock?
This situation
Definitely one.
specifically um to put humanity into an inevitable ruin because anything that could inspire hope is what Piccolo has tried to snuff out. And so
And so the potential to be able to forthrightly confront chaos and receive wisdom such that a wish can be made, right? That is actually truly wished upon, can be achieved. That inspires hope by
right.
existing, right? The potentiality of it. And so Piccolo is trying to destroy potential, right? And that's really what he's saying here. And so um, that's when he tells Goku that he has killed Shenron. And the next thing he does right after that is he blows the next rock and Goku falls over. And then Piccolo tosses Tien aside. Now, this is where, right, it's not like he walks up to Goku with Tien and kills him there. It's like, all right, now I don't need to weaponize the innocent, right? And that shows that it is just a tactic to weaponize the innocent. Like, he's not malicious against Tien in this moment. Like, I'm going to take the time to kill this guy right now. He's not chaotic stupid or anything like that. But it is to say that he was weaponizing it to begin with. And so he tosses his weapon aside. And he disarms himself basically, which is hilarious. Hilarious
Well,
pun.
he treats Tien as a tool, and he says, "I'll deal with him later," right? Because realistically, if this was just normal malice, he would just kill Tien once he didn't have a use for him. But he still has a use for him because he's a tool, and so that use being more suffering and more crushing of the heroic spirit. So he would find a way to make more of an example out of him, and that's what heroes are to Piccolo ultimately, to be tools for that, and that's why he launches himself up in the air and has to plunge down at Goku, because he's reinforcing that he is above Goku.
Yeah,
He has to
definitely.
do that to repair his image for
I,
himself even.
I was just saying the unintentional pun of it was what I was laughing
Oh
at,
yeah.
because Piccolo disarms himself by letting go of Tien,
Mhm.
and then Goku says, "You made a mistake in not disarming me," basically.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
It is funny
And so
because
yeah, and that's the thing. Piccolo now, he has elevated his spirit above Goku. He does think he's helpless, but he hasn't actually disarmed the hero fully, and he still has one apparatus by which he can use the logos to propel himself forward. And we're gonna get into that in just a second. Oops, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Goku then presses his hand downward, firing a blast directly beneath himself and launching it into the air. Backed by the visage of a roaring Uzaru, Goku flies fist first through Piccolo's torso, leaving a large hole behind. Below, Tien gazes up at the rays of light shining down from Goku's attack. As Goku falls from the sky, he thinks of Roshi and Krillin, saying that he's avenged their deaths. Piccolo, meanwhile, gazes at the blood on his hands that Goku has shed, calling his defeat admirable. He then vomits up one last egg and spits it off into the distance, calling after his child to avenge him. Piccolo then explodes, finally defeated. So let's get to that first part. So it's clear. I mean, this is obviously a Kamehameha wave. He doesn't say it, right?
right.
But it is exactly that that's propelling him forward. And so he uses that one fist to use the blast, and then he goes upwards and elevates his spirit, right? To a degree that's so beyond Piccolo, right, that it launches through him. But I'll let you're one to say something, so go ahead.
It's the same as his fight with Tien actually, where it came down to one final attack that Goku could do, which was to use the Kamehameha to launch himself rather than aim it at someone else. And
Yeah.
that's how he doesn't defeat Tien in the World Martial Art Tournament, but it's how he does defeat Piccolo in this fight. And this is to show that he's perfected what he didn't know at the end of the last tournament, which is how you can use truth and your ability to create order out of chaos to propel yourself
It
to
was
a
the first
height,
time Goku really tried it
which helps
before,
you
right? Yeah.
transcend your opponent, right?
By integrating the let's say shadow part of oneself, the evil in the world that he's done with the ultra divine water. And we even see it, like Toriyama's like, here's the Uzaru. If you're not paying attention, here's why he can defeat Piccolo, right? Because he's integrated these things.
Yeah, that's the roar that
And that's
Korin
what
heard.
and that's what he didn't have when he fought Tien the first time. He didn't have any of
And
that.
and this is after Goku has pointed out to Piccolo that he has a tail, which has
Yes.
scared Piccolo into this
Yes.
situation.
It is that roar, that the dark nature of an individual that is beckoned forth by the integration of malevolence in the world. The reining in and control of that spirit is what Goku has mastered here, and that's what lets him use that power to kill Piccolo. Essentially, I don't want to say murder, but kill Piccolo. Essentially,
Yes.
destroy the idea of evil, at least temporarily, in the world.
At least this formulation of the idea of evil.
Yes.
Um
Which is really that earthly evil we've been talking about, right?
yeah. It
Hell on earth. I think that's a good way for Piccolo.
But yeah, this is This is just a great moment in the show also to show.
It's repeated so many times in flashbacks later
Oh
on.
yeah,
It's for a reason, but go ahead.
but it shows perfectly the dichotomy for the first major conflict for the world, right? Which is that two higher order spirits, one which is the snake-like alien, and one is a monkey. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this is
Mm-hmm.
a very cosmic image that sets the stage essentially for what Dragon Ball is about as a whole, right? Which is that left hand, right hand sort of dichotomy. And so Goku is flying fist first into him, using that physical, because this is about the physical stakes of the world, and he uses a physical attack instead of a spiritual attack, because it really is, he needs to defeat him like
He needs
as a
to defeat him in
tangible
reality.
physical,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's why he punches a giant hole through him, and he's not just like obliterated, like disintegrated or whatever.
Like some that we see, yeah. The first instantiation needs to be dealt with in the lowest resolution form, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, when we get into the next arc, the way that Goku handles that is actually one tier up.
Exactly.
And that's what Dragon Ball does so well, is that it keeps going one tier up in the story of the self here in Goku. Anything else to add? I do actually think
I think he says something to himself as he's aiming towards Piccolo that he has to make sure he hits the mark, which
he says I'm gambling everything I have.
yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gambling everything I have. I have to hit the mark. I think he says that, which is, we've talked about this a bit, but that conceptualization of hitting and missing the mark as being a more primordial archetypal idea, whereas sin means to miss the mark, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so, what happened originally, what Roshi
Oh
was
man,
not
it's
able
even
to
better.
do was
Hold
hit the
on,
mark,
because
right?
what he does is he hits the mark, and it is the sign of the demon that he destroys.
You're right.
Oh my god, it's even better.
Well, this is so okay.
Woo!
To tie it back into Roshi, right? Because Roshi
Yes.
misses the mark whenever he tries to seal
Yep.
him back away
Yes.
under the seal of the demon. And Goku does the higher version of that. Instead of destroying the instantiation, he destroys the symbol of the demon.
Yep.
Right? Whereas
And that's
whenever,
why Piccolo Jr. doesn't wear it, by the way.
but when they put him inside of the in the what's it called, the Denshi jar?
Yep.
They have the symbol of the demon like a seal on it, right? So it's, instead of destroying the physical instantiation, Goku, by beating him in this physical combat the way that he does, literally rips out the symbol from the center of him.
He's damaged the spirit of evil, even you could say, right? He's taken away that symbol that does represent evil.
In the same way that whenever he experienced his death, he had the circle on his gi destroyed.
Yes.
That was supposed to cut through to the heart of him, you know?
Well, it did, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Definitely.
mean, on the physical sense, he was protected because he had the Dragon Ball there. And that's, I mean, that's kind of the difference here, is that Piccolo has instantiated himself as like the dragon. He doesn't have a Dragon Ball to stand behind.
Yeah,
he doesn't have some spirit that's higher than him to protect him from.
He doesn't stand under
protect
anything.
his spirit.
He doesn't
Yeah.
stand under anything.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's why he does. There's nothing to save him from this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love the next. Oh god, this episode's so good. Because the very next thing Goku does is he thinks of Krillin, he thinks of Roshi, and he doesn't say, "I've gotten revenge for your deaths." He says, "I've avenged your deaths," and it's that nuance and it's that next level of understanding and integration that Goku did not have at the beginning of the arc. Let me make this perfectly clear. Goku is not a flat character. This arc, in and of itself, you can already see a massive change in how Goku acts and the kind of character Goku is. And because at the beginning, right, he doesn't listen to Roshi. He goes and tries to get revenge, and that all leads to almost ruin. It almost kills him.
Yeah. I mean, it basically does kill him.
It does. It makes it to where there's such a morally corrupt part of himself that he has to kill that part of himself to go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this is the fruits of that, where we see that he's avenged their deaths and that he
has killed off the revengeful part of himself.
And I mean, that's the whole point. That's the point of Yajirobe pointing out that he's
Yes.
doing it for people other than himself.
Yep.
That's the point of Yajirobe's crisis of spirit, as well as he's being pulled back towards Goku yet again, and we'll see that pay off in just a second. But it's it's just perfect, like if you're not looking for it, you could just be like, oh, okay, and then Goku just punches a hole through him. But the reality is, it's exactly the same as every other time we've seen the symbols of things get destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. And so, to end this part off, the seed of evil is not destroyed. Evil itself cannot be destroyed as long as, well, we'll get into it in the next couple episodes. How it's portrayed here in Dragon Ball is very, very sublime because,
Hmm.
and this is something that kids can explain. Like little kids who watch Dragon Ball Z can explain that if Piccolo dies, someone else dies.
Yeah.
But the reason for that, I'm excited to unveil in the next couple episodes. But the seed of evil cannot be destroyed quite yet, and so Piccolo launches his egg and says for his child to avenge him and to get revenge for his death. Yes, avenge your father one day. And then he explodes.
He says, "Never let the evil in you be extinguished."
Yes, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure Piccolo says that because the symbol was destroyed on his gi, right?
Right. He's saying the spirit that animates me, that's a higher order that my symbol is basing itself on, the primordial concept of evil itself.
Yeah.
Or I don't even want to say concept, because concept isn't right. The the other half of the entire moral system that the world is based upon is what he's appealing to, and saying never let that half of
Mm-hmm.
reality be squashed out of you, basically, in that dichotomous judgment of the way that morality and ethics work in the world.
Right. And so then Piccolo explodes, and hell on Earth is avoided, at least for now.
Yeah, the earthly instantiation of hell is avoided.
At least for now. Yeah. And so as Goku as Gomu as Goku plunges toward the ground, Yajirobe rushes to catch him, reaching him just in time. In the distance, Yamcha and the girls creep towards the crater with caution. Yajirobe helps Tien up and tells the two of them to get into his car so he can get them healed. Tien refuses, saying that he'll return to Kame House to tell the others what's happened here. He then confirms for Goku that Piccolo had truly killed Roshi, Shenron, and even Chaozu. They part, challenging each other for the next Tenkaichi tournament, and Yajirobe speeds off with Goku, who quickly falls asleep. Yajirobe's car passes right by Yamcha and the ladies, and they all get one last glimpse at the sleeping hero. Change that a little bit for you. So let's start at the beginning here. Yajirobe has to catch him, as we've seen from the entire arc. This is the support from the support that Yajirobe provides Goku's spirit because of the reflective nature that he has on Goku's past.
Yeah,
He has to save him.
this is the point. So the first time that Goku fights is Tambourine, and he's cast down and he falls down, and then he's lost out in the desert after the end of that fight. I
Mm-hmm.
say the desert, it's the jungle, but I mean he's in the desert of
It's a
meaning.
spiritual desert, yeah.
Um, he then wanders up on Yajirobe and steals from him,
Yep.
and has to be told that that form of self interest, or that form of um disregarding the morality of what he's doing, is wrong, right? And from that point on, we've led to this point where the two have come to understand each other.
Yes.
And when Goku falls down from this fight this time, Yajirobe is there to catch him here, like in the desert, right? The
In the actual wasteland, right?
And Yajirobe knows exactly what he needs to do again, because it's a pattern, right? A
And
pattern
also,
of death
in
rebirth that he assists him.
Yajirobe, in not to take away from Yajirobe's path during this arc too, because his interactions with Goku have given him so much spiritual nourishment that like he's gonna, and as we see later, like he's just gonna live with Korin now because that's where he can get what he needs.
Yeah.
And so him coming here, and he even says too,
This
he's
is
like,
not a self-serving thing that Yajirobe's done here, by the
right,
way.
definitely. definitely. It's not because it's because the nourishment that he seeks is the right path that he should be on.
I think I have a better way that I want to
Go
put it,
ahead.
because when we see Goku and Yajirobe first interact, it's Goku doing something selfish and Yajirobe pointing out that selfishness and how it's wrong, right? Even though Yajirobe cannot conceptualize why it's wrong.
Sure, yeah.
Now Yajirobe knows why it's wrong, and it ends with Goku being completely selfless and Yajirobe being selfless with Goku. And
Mm.
so it turns from selfishness into
Yeah, and
selflessness.
that's the thing. At the beginning of this arc, Goku is like possessed by all these demons, right?
Hmm.
Revenge, selfishness, right? Um, what else? Indolence, even if you want to say, in
Yeah.
regards to Roshi.
Yeah.
And so he's possessed by all these demons, and that's why he fights demons. That's why Mazuko are the thing that's here, right? And so it starts off with that negative interaction, two negative spirits kind of colliding, and then here it's the sublimation of Goku's spirit that's allowed Yajirobe to kind of piece together the path he needs to take, and he's here to save Goku because of that.
Right.
And so, Tien does not go with them. Why does he not go with them?
I think ultimately he feels a responsibility to the rest of the Z team, of the Go crew.
And remember, I mean, he survived the Mafuba, and now after he's used it, like he's really trying to assume
The
that
role.
paternal role
Yeah.
because it's still vacant. Goku hasn't taken the paternal role by killing Piccolo.
Right.
And so he needs to go back and tell them and
I mean, he needs to protect. I mean, especially with what he had done to Yamcha in the most
oh yeah,
simple sense.
definitely, yeah.
Because he's put Yamcha in a situation where in this world he should be dead.
Yes. Definitely.
And
No
I think
place
that
for a cripple.
the most honorable thing that Tien can conceptualize is protecting those that Roshi protected.
Right. I mean, even emulating his spirit as far as he can, right? I mean, that's what he's been trying to do the whole arc, which is what I was getting. But yeah.
Yeah.
And so they agree to fight Goku and Tien at the next Tenkaichi tournament, proving right they're both willing to subordinate themselves to the hierarchy of hierarchies and order their spirits in that way, which is always a good. It's like that good Marduk ritual to
Yeah.
continually rejuvenate the spirit. And so they both agree to do that. And then Yajirobe leaves with Goku, who falls right asleep. He falls unconscious. And I think not only is the like exhaustion thing a part of it, but attention has its limits. When people pay attention to things, that takes energy and effort. And Goku has been paying attention to things for like days at a time with no sleep. And so he needs some rest. I mean, this is the rest well part of it.
Yes.
And so he rests well right off.
And he's moving well right now because
Yeah.
the physical instantiation, the lower instantiation of himself, that is Yajirobe, is moving towards the place he needs to be. So
Which is a perfect, yeah.
this is how he sort of ties up the cycle that he goes through in his training and the symbolic sort of death rebirth from this fight, is that now he can rest well. Where before he really couldn't rest well after his fight with Piccolo, right?
Oh yeah, he never rested well.
He
from
he
that
never
arc.
got any rest until he
Like
got
even when
the
he was
spiritual
sleeping in the
sustenance.
car before, he was awoken because Roshi died.
Yeah.
Right, and then and so Goku can finally rest. And the last thing we see in the very last scene is Yajirobe passing by Yamcha and the ladies, and they all get one glimpse at Goku, like freeze frames there for a second, and then goes on.
Which they don't know the context for this at all.
No, they're kind of and we'll see the aftermath of it next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really where we're gonna end the Piccolo Daimo arc. Anything else you want to say?
No, other than people don't appreciate this arc as much as they should, because it's the culmination of all the other ones.
Yeah, people are like, oh well, it made bad things happen. Like there's too much action now. It's like
People just want to be in the weeds.
yeah, I don't missing the forest, eh?
Yeah.
So Great. We'll end off there. This was the final Showdown, episode 122 of Dragon Ball. If you liked what you heard, please give us a like. Subscribe to our channel. We upload new episodes Mondays and Thursdays to YouTube, Tuesdays and Fridays to Rumble, so check us out on those platforms. I've been your host on the left.
I've been your host on the right,
Owl.
Brock.
I guess you have. I've been your host on the left, Owl.
I've been your host on the right, Brock.
And we really enjoyed sharing this arc with you. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Have a good night.